Hey yo, 6-0.
Lodestar Esports now coming over to this bear, and the Volibear seems to be first to be going in with the ultimate. Sejuani ultimate missing the backline completely. MF ult coming down, taking down only the Volibear with the Vi ult in the backline on the ADCs. The jungler's gonna go down. Be a triple kill for the way, maybe even going for a quadra. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Lodestar Esports live stream. I'm joined today again with Emily, and we have some banger games ready for you guys.
Yeah, welcome back everyone to the Lodestar Esports stream. Today we've got Bardicted to You, try saying that fast 3 times, versus DMG Esports Sweden in Division 1 of SOL once again.
Yeah, and just like last time, you know, Div 1 games, very, very exciting, and this time it's absolutely no different. We have an extremely stacked roster on both sides, and we should talk a bit about the players. What do you think about the players, Emily?
You know, I think there's a lot of interesting players, and I think to start with, maybe we should discuss the state of the league currently. So we're only one game into the league so far. If you were here last week, you saw some of the games. Bardicted to You, they won their first game against Regam, and DMG lost their first game versus Int Esports. So DMG coming into this game, slight bit of underdogs. They're a game down. They're gonna look to try and claw that back here. But Bardicted to You, a lot of hype around that team.
Yeah, and a lot of hype, completely valid, right? I've checked the op.gg. We might get a little graphic going as well. We have to wait just a minute for that, but the roster is stacked on both teams. The average is what? Masters 500 LP again. 2 GMs on the side of B2U. Just extremely high elo players.
Yeah, definitely, and I do remember I saw a little list on Twitter by one of the organizations playing in SOL, and the total LP for some of these teams is very high. B2U not as high as some other teams, but the total LP for this team is 2,856.
Damn, that's probably more than every single division below them combined, every single player, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we've got DMG down in 9th place for total elo at the time the list was made with 1,935.
How much again?
DMG have 1,935 LP, and Bardicted to You have 2,856.
So there's actually a pretty big LP difference, honestly. That's
there
what,
is.
That's
roughly
like
900 or
bronze?
so.
Yeah, that's like what, from iron to gold, basically?
Yeah, just about, yeah.
God
I think we're maybe a little bit above iron and gold, but yeah, basically.
Yeah, basically, okay. I mean, that's pretty good, and we're gonna get into the games relatively soon, I hope. We're still waiting for the teams to, you know, get ready, you know, shake off some of the nerves and get into game, and we're gonna show you guys everything. We're gonna get into draft when that's ready, and comment on that a bit. And speaking on draft, anything that you're expecting, Emily, today?
Anything that I'm expecting, I think we're gonna see more of the same, really. I think the meta is fairly settled on this patch. We're on the cusp of a new patch, but I think for this patch, things are fairly standard across the board. I think things that we need to look out for that I think are very strong on this patch that aren't seeing much love. I think one champion to look out for is Seraphine. I think currently on this patch, Seraphine, extremely powerful, and in the same vein, we spoke about it last week and everyone knows it on this patch, the Senna, the Enchanter Senna.
Yeah, and the Enchanter Senna I understand, but where did Seraphine come from? I haven't really seen much of Seraphine at all in recent patches. I have been seeing it more in the solo queue though.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's not as much as a competitive pick at the moment. I think teams are a bit unwilling to stray away from what they know. But I think the Seraphine in the bot lane can be very, very powerful. It means you can kind of adjust the way that you're playing the game. You can have a very neutral bot lane, and I think that's quite valuable in the current meta because a lot of the bot lanes we're seeing picks like Ashe, Misfortune. They're all very neutral picks. We're not really seeing any swingy bot lanes. You know, there's no Dravens, no Samiras. There's no Twitches or anything, so we're seeing very neutral bot lanes. And Seraphine slots perfectly into the neutral bot lane. She gels very well with current top lane picks. You know, we're seeing tanks, bruisers. We're also seeing a lot of ADCs picked top and mid, and the Seraphine, the Enchanter, just slides in so nicely. So much healing, so much shielding.
Yeah, and besides just being an enchanter, she also offers a really good damage profile, I feel, for a lot of these picks, right? You have, I love that you mentioned that it's the ADCs in each of the roles, right? And then you just put a Seraphine in the bot lane. That's a lot of AP, surprisingly. People don't really think about that.
Yeah, definitely. And beyond that, I think chat is highlighting it right now. But the jungler Alex for Addicted to You, very high profile player here. He previously played for Mad Lions Madrid over in the, I believe it's the LVP in Spain.
Yeah, I think Mad Lions plays in the LVP in Spain, and the G2 Arctic, I believe, as well, as we see talking in the chat. Yeah, a really high-profile player playing in, basically the highest European leagues. Of course, LEC, is a bit off limits, but effectively the highest you can get on your own, just, progressing through the teams without being picked up by a huge org.
Yeah, it's fairly impressive to see him here playing in the Swedish online league. I wonder what brought him here. Playing for Addicted to You, a team that I don't know too much about, I'm going to be honest, but I do like their name. I can get behind that.
Yeah, the name is very cool. I love the logo as well. Bard, a very cutesy character. But in terms of the standings, right, we said that B2U have won their first series.
They have indeed, yes, they beat
They have.
Regem.
So Regem lost
That's
against
correct, yes.
B2U. DMG also lost. So
No,
these
sorry.
these
B2U won against Regem, and DMG lost to Int Esports.
yeah, exactly. So these are basically teams on the opposite sides
Yep,
of
that's
uh,
correct.
of the ladder. As I see in the chat right now, someone said it was 1-1.
1-1 was. I must be mistaken. The challenger mode might be lying to me. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna cope a little bit. We will get back to you with the proper stats in a minute. We are just waiting to get into the lobby and to get into champ select here. And let's go back to talking about picks in the current meta card. I think last week we did see a couple of spicy picks, if you remember.
Yeah, last week a couple of spicy picks. The Zed, I remember that one. That was the first big banger to come out in the first draft of all of the games. But after that, what else did we see picked? I remember the
It
Zed
was
very, very vividly.
Yeah, I remember we saw the Yoni. We got that flashy play that was on Twitter highlighted. Very impressive.
The Evelyn as well. The
The
Evelyn, yeah,
Evelyn
the
indeed.
Yone,
Yeah,
the Zed.
how can we forget about the Evelyn? I believe that was the Division 2 game where we saw the Evelyn, but still very exciting.
Yeah, it was on the side of City Retirement Home, I believe.
That is correct.
I think it was
I
both
do
games.
have the proper stats now, and the member in chat, the BTU member, correcting me. He is correct. 1-1 for Addicted to You versus Regam.
Okay, so it's not as divisive as I thought it would be before. So it's basically middle of the pack team for now, of course, right? Just looking at the basic stats right now, and the bottom team just because of the first games and how they went.
Yeah, that's correct. Addicted to You. I believe it's 2 points for a win in this league. They're sitting middle of the table in DMG 0 points currently.
Yeah, DMG 0 points. Okay, and we see. Okay, I'm getting some info now. We're gonna start draft relatively soon, but we're gonna have to wait just a couple minutes more for the teams to get fully ready.
Yeah, a lot of hype behind this game, and I'm not intimately familiar with the players myself, But I think on this patch, I think the meta is fairly settled, and I'm expecting to see, Misfortunes, Kaisas, Ashes, Ezreals, maybe some Volibear. I think a kind of underloved pick currently on this patch is the Maokai. We're not seeing much Maokai, but he is seeing competitive play in some leagues, a little bit in the LCK.
Yeah, I think the Maokai is a bit of an interesting pick where people don't think of it as an AP threat, although it very much is, right? The Maokai, if you get some AP on that champion, the scalings on him are pretty insane, and it becomes an actual big damage threat to the enemy team. So even if you have AP or sorry AD lanes, right, and you need something AP in the jungle, some magic damage, Maokai isn't even that bad of a shout.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about some other lanes as well, with the 14.16 patch, we did see some traditional classic picks coming straight back into the meta. The Emperor of Shurima sliding right back into the meta. Very prominent now, very strong. He's returned to glory. And I would love to see Azir. I think anytime that champion is played, it makes for an amazing game. So much playmaking.
Yeah, and we also played it last week, right? We tried it as well, and Azir honestly felt pretty good. Just to play around, right? It's one of those DPS mages, right? Usually mages rely on some sort of burst, but Azir is just the pure epitome of a DPS mage, right? It's like the Cassio. It's kind of like playing with an ADC that's, attacking from a really long range. It works as a control mage, and it feels really good. So I can say that that has to be, an interesting pick for both of the teams.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna hazard a guess, and I'm gonna make a very safe guess here, Carrot, that I think there's a good chance we might see a Leona or a Rel.
Yeah, I think a pretty out there take. I think crazy take, but I think you just might be right.
Yeah, I think there's a small chance. I think the support meta is currently very very settled, and maybe even a little bit stale, depending on who you ask. We've got the Leona, we've got the Rel, we've got maybe a tiny bit of Nautilus, but that champion has fallen off a little bit. We do still see some counter picks. We see tiny bit of Renata picked, but still not a lot. The Braum is a pick that's definitely worth keeping an eye out for.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact of, you need some sort of front line in the bot lane, and Rel just offers so much durability that it's almost, it makes no sense to pick anything else, right? Renata, one mistake and you're dead, right? The Braum is the only one that's kind of come back into favor, right, with the Rel, a bit of a counter to the Rel, to the Leona. He can, stand his ground, block with the shield, and he just works as some sort of front line, whereas Renata just doesn't really.
Yeah, you're very right about that. Renata is sort of an odd champion. It's traditionally a counter pick into some of these engaged champions, but we haven't seen it as much as others. I think it's because of the sort of the ease or lack thereof of the execution of the pick that you do highlight. It is so easy to make a mistake on these champions, and I think that's why there's still so much value put into these tanky support picks.
Yeah, and speaking of these tanky support picks, we do have a bit of a graphic ready. Hopefully it functions correctly. We're gonna be switching over to it right now and showing you guys a bit of a comparison between both of the teams.
Yeah, dude, I think we are having some slight technical difficulties with our pre-prepared graphics, so please bear with us while that is adjusted. Our lovely producer currently in the works of fixing that. We will just be a moment. But I think the things that we can see, top laner, we're seeing Skarner, Cassante, Renekton, and Camille. And, I think you would struggle to find a more typical top lane champion pool there. And we do see a bit of a shared champion pool between the top laners, a lot of shared Renekton games, a lot of shared Cassante games. But I think, Carrot, looking over to Bardicted to you. Now, keep in mind these picks are solely based on solo queue at the moment. But we
Yeah.
have Riven and Varus for the top lane of Bardicted to you, and that's interesting.
Yeah, the Riven and the Varus, definitely, something to hope for, right? We talked about this in the previous games last week, and it's like, you hope that they pick it, but you kind of doubt that they will at the same time. And I mean, looking at the games, right, played, it's not that little, right? So I feel like the higher games, the higher the amount of games played for a certain player, right? The higher chance that they might actually pick it up here. And as we see right now, right, we see the Riven with 34 games played and 26 on that Varus from the side of Guves. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And pretty extremely high win rates, honestly. Around 60 for both of those champions. So, at that point, you might actually think that, you know, it might be worth picking up.
Yeah, it might be, and I think Varus as a top lane champion is something that's very interesting. We see some very strange and unusual builds on the Varus in the top lane. We see things like the locket on the Varus top, making use of those base damages.
Yeah, we've seen that build come into the meta a bit. It's a bit of a more stable build than anything else. Than other builds, right? The lethality build and the on-hit build, but it functions really well and it still does a lot of damage.
Yeah, definitely. And looking down at some of the other champion pools here, sorry, I believe according to chat, we've made a slight mistake on the graphic. We have the wrong top laner listed for Bar Addicted to You. Sorry to Bar Addicted to You. A slight mistake there in production. We're just gonna slowly sweep past that and talk about mid laners. We'll just pretend like that never happened. We've got a contested Tristana pick in the mid lane, and Tristana is a champion that has been very strong for a short while now in the mid lane. But I think maybe we see 80 mid laners falling off now. We've seen a lot of nerfs. There's more nerfs still coming. Absorbed Life is getting nerfed again. And I would love to see us resorting back to more mages. The Wei, the Syndra, the Talias, the Orianas.
Yeah, very interesting picks here. I mean, those are just, the classic mid lane champions. I feel like especially now, since all the changes to mid lane ADCs have come in, 100% there's a higher chance we see, maybe an Oriana. People say that I've talked to people about the buffs, right? 5% buff on the Q doesn't really change that much, right? But it's laning tools. That's the most important thing, right? Syndra got buffed for her burst. Oriana got buffed for her laning tools. And so many different champions just getting slight buffs to their laning phase just to be able to contest those ADCs a bit better, and all of those ADCs losing HP.
Yeah, definitely. Small nerfs, but the small nerfs definitely do add up. And I think we can continue down on the line here. And we do see a familiar name for us, Cara. We see Boundless ADC for DMG Esports Sweden. Most played champion is the Ezreal. And I think Ezreal is a champion that remains currently very strong in the meta. Ezreal somewhat historically has been thought of as one of those scaling picks, but I think more recently and in the recent years we're seeing Ezreal as a very, very strong laner. He puts out so much damage in the early game.
Yeah, and especially now before next patch, I feel like next patch, what you mentioned there is going to be nerfed quite a lot. All that damage in the lane, he's losing 2 base AD on next patch, which is going to impact him a lot, especially with the nerfs to his Q, I believe, on last patch already. So that champion is definitely going to lose a lot of laning prowess, which I feel, in some sense is a bit understandable, right? That a champ like Ezreal should be mid-game focused, and having him have too strong of a laning phase can make him, a bit of a menace in the meta, which he is right now. I feel that champion is very blind pickable, very strong, but he doesn't offer as much DPS as many of the other picks. So I feel like if we see an Ezreal, we might see from Cropson a Jinx counterpick. We see 194 games on that champion. Of course, the laning phase is not that good, but overall, the team, if Boundless picks up this Ezreal, they will lack DPS to take down the front line of the side of Addicted to You later on in the game.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to just apologize to Bar Addicted to You once again for the slight mistake on the graphic. And I will correct it myself here, and we will talk about the top laner for Bar Addicted to You. Samson, give him a little love. His most played champion currently is Karma.
Karma. Okay, so it's not that much more tame than what we have here on the graphic.
And I think worth noting as well is I believe he maybe doesn't play the Karma top lane, it looks like it is mostly support games, but he is playing a lot of Shen top. And I think that is quite interesting because when we look at the jungler, Happy Alex, for Verdicted to You, his most played champion is also Shen. And now I'm not 100% sure if those are jungle games. I would have to confirm. But I think Shen jungle is an interesting pick. It's something we don't see very often, but I think there is strength to it.
Yeah, again, which champion were we talking about specifically right now?
Shen, sorry.
Oh, Shen. Oh, yeah,
The
yeah.
Yeah, both the top laner and the jungler for Bardicted to You both having Shen games, but I believe that the jungler Shen games might be in the top lane, so it might not be a jungle pick. But I think still Shen is an exciting champion, and I'm honestly surprised that in the current meta we don't see more Shen. You know, teams are looking to they play for bot lane, they play for mid lane, and Shen is a champion that can really facilitate that playstyle.
Yeah, for sure. And I see someone in the chat here. I'm just gonna, quote them a bit. It's Shen top lane. He's just goaded. So apparently, it seems that Happy Alex he indulges in a bit of Shen top lane when he's autofilled, or maybe he plays Phil or something. So that Shen top lane, that Shen is top lane. So no Shen jungle, unfortunately for us. Unless he decides to pick it up. It is 72 games, 61% win rate. That is a bit crazy, honestly. If you look at any of Happy Alex's top champs, you can see a lot of games played over 30 for all four, and 3 of them have close to a 70% win rate, which is just, next level. It's no doubt that he was present in some of the G2 Arctic games and Giants games in the LVP.
Yeah, very, very impressive. And I think any other season currently, rather than the one we're in now, and Happy Alex would see himself probably quite securely in Challenger. But currently, the cutoff for Grandmaster, the cutoff for Challenger, very high. I believe the cutoff for Grandmaster right now is somewhere above 800 LP. So even for Happy Alex, he's up there as a 900 LP player. That is unfortunately on the low side of Grandmaster currently, which is a bit odd, but that it is what it is. It's still a very, very high rank. I believe he's somewhere around rank 300 on EU West.
Yeah, and I mean, unusual. That is a bit unusual, right? But that's just the environment in Europe right now. Very competitive, very high cutoffs for all of these high ranks, which is nice to see, right? It's nice to see that the highest part of the ladder is being extremely, extremely competitive. But speaking of competitive, the opposite side here to Happy Alex, it's Gary Snail. As we can see, it's not a mistake that he doesn't have any champs, but from what I've seen from his OP.GG, he doesn't play the game.
I mean, maybe he has another secret account where he's playing, he's grinding, or maybe he's just such a Chad that he just doesn't feel like playing solo queue. And as someone who I queue up, and sometimes there's questionable people on my team, I can respect that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it might be a wonder situation. He just plays WoW and then wins LEC. Maybe
Now,
it's
one more
that
thing to
situation.
highlight, Carrot, before we get into the draft, and I think it's something we forgot to speak about because it's new. There's a certain rabbit hopping around the rift, Carrot.
Yeah, Aurora. Aurora. I think I got that
Aurora,
one right.
indeed. And
Yeah, that
Aurora
champ
is an
is
exciting
crazy.
champion.
Yeah, agreed fully.
I, I haven't seen it much in competitive yet. I saw a few games in the Finnish Pro League. I saw some Division 1 games where Aurora was picked. It's a very exciting pick. She's got a lot of playmaking, a lot of damage. And I would love to see an Aurora. I think it's a champion that's going to be so exciting going forward in competitive play.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like even despite the nerfs coming in next patch, I think this champ is still gonna be insanely strong. Like the damage is going down, but the fact that the ult exists in a way that it does right now is completely insane to me. That ult is the easiest thing to play around. We've played it in scrims, and just you walk up to the enemies, and even before you drop the ultimate, it's kind of like a Blitzcrank hook, right? It's not the
Hmm.
problem of it being an ability, it's a problem of it being available, right? So enemies cannot walk anywhere because
Yeah,
that Aurora ult can get dropped, and if it gets dropped, you're dead. There's nothing you can do except for flash out, right?
yeah,
And I feel
definitely.
like that's just so incredibly strong when you're approaching any fight. Even if you mess up your setup for the fight, you kind of have always this ability to just walk in and press ult. And as we say that, we are going into draft as we are speaking. We didn't really get notified in advance. We're going to be swapping over to the drafting screen right now and getting straight into it. The first ban from blue side, from the side of B2U, is going to be the Leona.
I think we do have a slight issue in production where I believe the teams might be on the wrong side. Please bear with us while we try to get that fixed. But yeah, we see the Leona ban coming in, we see a Shen ban coming in now. We did speak about the Shen previously in the top lane, a very strong pick, so I'm not surprised to see it banned.
Yeah, so if we're correct right now, but DMG should be on red side, right?
I believe it's the other way around.
I'm a bit lost now. I think no.
I believe,
Alex is definitely on B2U.
Yeah, I predicted to you on blue side, sorry, and DMG on red side, I believe.
Yeah, okay, so it is correct. It is correct.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. B2U is blue. We're getting kind of confirmation in chat. Sorry everyone for, you know, challenger mode doesn't really have a big clear sign of which team is on which side, so we're gonna have to bear with that. Thank you for bearing with us. Looking at the draft again, let's get back to this. Let's get back to focusing, and we are on first 2 picks now. So Gnar blind on blue side, and then Aurora picked into it. Aurora went through the ban phase. What do we think of this?
Yeah, that is interesting, and I do believe they have done a draft law beforehand, so I'm not sure if they are picking in order. I think DMG might be picking in order, but the other team might not be, unfortunately. Bear with us. We will talk about the picks as they come in. We see the Orianna locked in now. Orianna, I think, strong champion. She saw buffs on patch 14.16. Definitely a strong champion. We see Jarvan hovered. Jarvan could be an interesting... Ooh, but Shyvana.
Yeah, okay, and we're getting confirmation from people in the chat that, you know, this is correct and that the picks are in order. I did get confirmation from the players before game as well, so it should all be in order. So the Gnar B1 was a real thing, into Aurora MF, into Orianna Shyvana, into the Maokai. This is already a really hype draft. I love this. I love this. So, looking at the draft now, the Braum is banned on red side, and then the Cassante reply ban from Verdicted to You on blue side, followed by the Melio from DMG, and the Malphite as the final ban. So, what are we gonna see on 4 here? Looking for the Nautilus, hovering it right now, but I don't know if they necessarily want to be looking for that. Rel is completely untouched in this game for now, so
Yeah,
I would expect them to pick Rel here on 4.
Could just be that the Nautilus could be a comfort pick for the player on DMG. I respect that. Nautilus is a very comfy champion to play, a lot more recent than the Rel, and you know, us old people are still gonna think of Rel as a new champion, even though it has been a couple of years.
Okay, so yeah, I agree with you. I just had to think about that. That's why I kind of shut up for a moment. Rel is not a new champ anymore.
Yeah,
he's been in the game for quite a while.
We are a few years past that, but we see Verdicted to You rounding out their bot lane. They've picked up the Jinx. We did speak about that before Champ Select, and we see the Rel that we are speaking about. So you know, one of the teams respecting the strength of that Rel, and we are gonna see how DMG round out their comp and they lock in a Vayne. I think that's a Vayne top lane.
I'm pretty sure it is Vayne top lane. That's insane. Now, my question is here. How does Vayne Condemn work with Aurora ult?
I have no idea,
What happens?
You know?
What happens? Do you bounce off the wall? Does it count as terrain?
Yeah, do you get condemned into the wall?
Because that's
a good question, Karat. You know, posing very good question there, and I think the only answer that we're gonna get is maybe someone in chat is aware of the obscure interaction, but otherwise we're gonna have to see how the game plays out and see how it plays out. But Vayne top, wow, this is that's a like an LPL pick. You know, we see it very rarely occasionally. And sometimes she completely takes over the game and runs down the enemy lane. But other times she, she's a bit prone to ganks. She's a bit prone to falling over and dying. But I think Addicted to You, they don't have the best comp for ganking the Vayne. You know, the Shyvana doesn't exactly provide much to the ganks, especially pre-6. And after the level 6 is where the Vayne is even more slippery with the ultimate. And I think it's gonna be interesting because in solo queue we almost always see this Vayne top. She goes flash ghost, flash ghost. Is Samson in the top lane? No, sorry, not Samson. Sammy, is he going to go TP that we expect in competitive play, or is he going to opt for the ghost?
I feel like those top laner names are going to be a bit of an issue in the game, but that's a very valid question, right? Is this Vayne going to go full selfish mode, right? Is the Vayne going to just chill in the top lane and try the side lane, or is this a Vayne that they're gonna try to team fight with? Now, if we just look at the comps overall, what do you think? What are the takes? So red versus blue side, what are the like main things the viewers should know?
I think both teams are gonna be looking for team fights in this game. You know, on blue side, Addicted to You, we've got the Jinx. Jinx always wants the team fight. Orianna wants the team fight. The Nara as well, he wants the team fight. The Shyvana is the slightly odd picked because we know we've got this new Shyvana build where she's not a mage, but she's not quite a bruiser either. You know, she's sort of this hybrid between AP and AD Shyvana, and after 6 it is very strong. So definitely Addicted to You. I think they're gonna be looking to secure Shyvana's early game, keep her safe. They've got a lot of scaling on this team, and that could be a slight concern. You know, like the Orianna, not that strong before 6. The Jinx also not that strong before 6. And the Gnar, usually a strong pick in the top lane, but into the Vayne, I believe that is a counter pick, so he's maybe going to see some difficulty there. So currently, myself, I'm not feeling so strongly about the Addicted to You comp.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think in the team fights themselves, they have a really good comp. It's nice. It's really good. You have good engage. You have the Orianna ball to follow up on that engage. You have a Shyvana, which is a bit of a wild card, which you just mentioned, and the Jinx, right? But then on the other side, you kind of have the same thing, but you have a different wild card pick, right? You have the Vayne. So if you just look at the rest of the comp, I feel like Nautilus, MF, Aurora, those champs just want to drop the Aurora ult in one shot, right? They want to drop the Aurora ult, drop the MF ult, drop the Nautilus ult and the Maokai ult, and just fight, right? So
Definitely.
I feel like that's gonna be extremely interesting to just see how that plays out, right? I think the main pressure point here for the side of Addicted to You is gonna just be, can you not get one shot? I
That
think
is true.
that's the only danger, right? If the Aurora ult and the MF ult are successful, you are cooked. There's nothing you can do. But if they aren't, right? The longer these fights go, I feel like it's gonna be harder for them to play.
Yeah, and I think the red side comp for DMG here, I think not only do they want to fight, but I think they definitely want to try and get a lot of skirmishing in. And I think when we come to objectives, the red team, they want to be there first to set up. They want the enemies to walk into them. They want to get the setup for the misfortune ult, you know. The Nautilus wants to pick people off, and especially with this Maokai, in most competitive games we are seeing Liandry's first item on the Maokai. And you know, once he starts getting those saplings set up, it's not as strong as it used to be, but the poke adds up and it's so hard to walk into them.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that, right? It's just, that's what it is. It's setup versus no setup. Red team has to set up because it's just easier to play their comp, and it's also easier to, set off the MF ult out of zero vision than it is to be on vision and set off the MF ult. And that's just what I think they're gonna have to be looking forever. This is just, if they don't play the game like this, I think they're gonna slowly lose the game. But if they do, there's a higher chance they win. But still, I think both of the comps are extremely competitive, and they almost want to do the same thing, which means that we're gonna see a lot of contesting here. We're gonna see a lot of contesting on the Drakes, on the Herald, on the Baron, and I think both teams have a really good shot, and I'm really, really excited to see what's gonna happen here.
Yeah, me too. And then we see the game starting. We see fairly standard fight points by both teams, but we did see quite interestingly the junglers are starting on opposite sides of the map, so they're gonna be pathing away from each other. But we do see the Aurora in the mid lane. She walked into the enemy jungle, level 1. She got a ward down on those chickens. So DMG gonna have good starting intel on this game. And we did speak about in the loading screen in Chancellor Carrot, the Vayne in the top lane for Samu. He has took the ghost.
Yeah, I see the ghost. Okay, so this is gonna be a full side lane, full selfish Vayne, which is honestly kind of expected. I feel like playing Vayne in general into Orianna is not really what you want to be doing. Vayne into Orianna, Vayne into Rel, there's no way you escape that engage. And Vayne is just fully reliant on permanently hiding, right? So, understandable choice. They're gonna go for the full side lane power here. The Vayne is getting pushed in the top side here, but as you said, right, DMG actually, I'm sorry. DMG have pretty good vision on the enemy jungler, and at the same time, it's a Shyvana, right? You pretty much know you're not gonna get ganked by a Shyvana, at least not early on in the game, because she needs to clear those camps, and she wants to go for these Drakes to get that armor and MR stacking from the passive.
Yeah, definitely, and I think so far we see the game shaping up as we'd expect. Maybe not quite for the mid lane for Zoronic here. He's been forced out of lane at level 3 by the Orianna. Coin, I think, sorry, playing very aggressively here. He's got the TP out from Zoronic already on the Aurora. And in the other lanes, we saw the Gnar able to shove in on third wave to get a little bit of a cheater reset there. Vayne struggling to push it back. She does struggle for wave clear in the early game.
Yeah, of course, and that's one of the weaknesses of the Vayne, right? Early on in the game, there's nothing you can do to the waves. You have an auto attack. That's all you do. So there's obviously, it makes sense, right, that you don't get to push in, but it's gonna get better over time, right? Of course, every ADC gets better over time as we see some trading here in the bot side, but there's not gonna be much. And just going away a bit from the top lane matchup, see the Shyvana, I'm sorry, walking here into the red side jungle, but she's not gonna find much, and she's gonna get the recall in. Then the exact same thing happening on the other side of the map.
Yeah, both junglers may be looking for an invade, but there's nothing to invade at the moment, so they are both just gonna take their resets. Shyvana opting for the pickaxe, going into that Spirit Shojin. Of course, Maokai, as we highlighted, he's gonna be building into that Leon juice. He's got the Faded Ashes, and so far, the game unfolding very quietly. I think worth highlighting Samson in the top lane on that Gnar. He got that cheater reset. Vayne struggled to crash the wave, and then by the time Maokai had walked top, he was very securely just in front of his own tower, so no gank could happen.
Yeah, and just to update everyone, we are working right now to lower the in-game sound. Our producer is gonna change that as soon as he can. Maybe change some settings in the OBS because it is just a bit too loud. So we're gonna get that done very, very soon.
Yeah, and so far the game is starting very slowly, which is not the worst thing in the world. Aurora forced to recall again. She is getting poked out quite heavily, and there is a small farm league starting to build, and she's probably gonna miss some of this wave when it crashes. So we might be looking at a sort of a 15 CS lead for the Orianna in the mid lane here. And Aurora being such a recent champion myself, I'm not very knowledgeable on her matchups, so I can't comment on how the matchup should go, but currently for the Aurora, it's not going very well.
Yeah, and as we just talked about, right, before the game, the Orianna did get a slight laning buff, so, you know, maybe that's paying a bit of the dividends for the Orianna. The matchup itself probably not being that good for the Aurora in itself, because she is a pretty low range mage, and Orianna is known, you know, with the passive and with the Q and W to bully these lower range mages and melee champions. So probably about how good that matchup can go, but still, right, you don't need too much gold on that Aurora to have her do exactly what she needs to do.
Yeah, and we see that predicted to you opting in to do that early trick. Shyvana, of course, with the Dragon Stack and passive, wanting to get those in. So they do pick up the Hextech Drake for themselves. Their bot lane also getting a nice little reset off. Maokai has started up the grubs, so the cross-map play is happening. But it looks like predicted to you might be walking up to try to contest, which I think currently would be a mistake because the Nautilus is there before the Rel.
Yeah, and a good move here from Dom Ponk on the side of DMG SE. Just just a bit faster than the Relic here. As we see a fight in the top lane, we didn't actually get to see that. The Vayne, I think, just got chased down and died immediately, and now crashing down. I mentioned that roam from Dumb Punk. It was good while it lasted, and now he has to flash out, but I think this is just gonna be the Nautilus going down. We see the Maokai here as well, Ignite used on the Nautilus, from the Nautilus onto the Gnar, but that's just gonna be the Nautilus taking down, just using that summoner spell for 0 at this point. And at the same time, we see in the bot lane B2U ADC kind of pushing in and poking out the MF here.
Yeah, and we do see the B2U, sorry, gonna be able to pick up the Drake and the Grubs. And as you did highlight, Carrot, Don Punk on the Nautilus, he was only level 4. He is still squishy. He didn't, I believe, I'm not sure if he had the Giant Spout at that point, but he overstayed his welcome on the roam after the Vayne died. And this is a very strong start for B2U. They got the Drake, they got the Grubs, and also in the top lane, the Gnar also has a lead, while also handshaking scaling. Both top laners have opted for the cull early game.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what we expect here, right? The Vayne just wants to scale in this lane. Usually, you see the Vayne as a champion that's really, really annoying for most melee champions, but as we can see right now, the Gnar does not care, especially in Mega form. He's doing so much damage here, and this is the strength of the Gnar, right? If you picked any other melee champion, he would just get hit by this Vayne over and over again, but the Gnar, with the range and mini, can actually contest the Vayne. His range is a bit lower, of course, but it's you know, not as bad as having 125 range. And then the Mega is just so incredibly strong that the Vayne, with almost no items, just cannot fight it at all.
Yeah, it's very difficult for the Vayne here. The Gnar able to poke her down in mini form, and then when he goes Mega, he's able to get on top of her. And we did see in that fight, she burned the Condemned to get him off her, but he just doesn't care. He's able to get on top of her regardless and use that ultimate to chunk her down. And the Vayne, she can't stay in the lane when she's sort of, you know, quarter HP, 1/3 HP. The Gnar has kill threat on her, and this is such a strong start for B2U now.
Yeah, 100% a really strong start here. If we just look at the CS differences a bit, we see the Gnar is ahead close to 20 CS here. It's going to be shortened a bit, the CS lead, while the Vayne picks up these minions under tower, but the plates are going to go down to the Gnar slowly. In the jungle, 20 CS lead for the Shyvana as well, and we see Maokai leaving camps up. That's all going to count towards the CS lead sooner or later, because Shyvana's camps keep being cycled. As we see a play going on here in the bot side onto the Nautilus, we're not there yet, as we see the MF ult going down, hitting everyone, but it's not going to be enough damage, and Happy Alex just takes that kill on the Shyvana, taking down the Nautilus, and that's 2 kills over to the Shyvana already. That Shyvana is extremely accelerated.
Yeah, she's starting the game very strong, and we just see when the fight ends, the shutdown ticks in on her. She's got a shutdown now. She has a farm lead. She's also got kills. Starting this game very, very strongly. She's going to be very happy. We traditionally think of Shyvana in the jungle as a scaling pick, but Happy Alex here, the previous Mad Lions Madrid player and the G2 Arctic player, showing us why he is such a strong player. He's already picked up the Spirit of Shojin, and that's going to help him out so much in these early fights, but also just for clear speed as well. He's going to whiz through the jungle now.
Yeah, none of those camps are going to be up as we see it right now. None of the camps are up. They're permanently getting taken. If we're just going to see this the entire game, I think. If you look at the blue side jungle, all the camps will always be down. You will not see a camp alive for more than 20 seconds. But on the red side, we see Krugs, Gromp, always left up. The Krugs are probably a couple levels down. And it's important to note, right, that clear speed really matters in this game, especially when you're talking about junglers that clear over and over again, right? These camps are on timers, and these camps have to keep respawning to get more value. And Shyvana's camps are getting cycled really, really fast, so the value they give is so much higher than the value that the camps from the side of DMG are going to give, and it's gonna just get worse and worse throughout the game.
Yeah, and we see both teams here posturing for vision setup on the Drake that is going to be spawning. B2U getting a good position for it, forcing the enemies out. They're clearing the vision. They do have the Shyvana as we keep piloting. She wants to get those Drakes stacking, and I think honestly it's going to be quite hard for DMG to contest this. They do have Aurora recalling. She does have the TP up, but I think it's possible that they might just handshake this and try and look to pick up farm elsewhere on the map.
Yeah,
we see a flank
the
TP.
Aurora TP. Aurora TPing in the backline, but she gets spotted out by the Orianna. She might get focused on here, and I think that might just be the Aurora going down. Uses the ultimate to try to get out, and getting the flash out to get out of that fight. The Shyvana ult to engage behind her, taking down the Aurora is gonna be the Rel at the end. Jinx ult coming in, the MF is 1 HP, the huge E from Happy Alex on the Shyvana, taking half of MF's HP, and that's just gonna be it. 2 kills over to the Rel at the end.
Yeah, wow, that's a great play and very well played by Happy Alex there on the Shyvana. He holds his ultimate till he knows that the Aurora has used her summoner spells. He uses the ultimate over the wall following her with the Dragon's Descent. He uses the E's to poke her down. He plays on the edge of the fight very beautifully. He lets Rel go in and tank. She uses her CC and we saw the misfortune. She tanked 2 Shyvana E's, a Jinx ultimate and a little bit of Rel CC and that was her. She was gone. She's out of the fight. She's dead.
Yeah, and there's actually nothing the MF can do there, I think. You know, when your Aurora is forced to use the ultimate defensively and forced to use it to get out, that's the end of the fight. Your comp is completely reliant on that Aurora ult, as we can see right now, right? Just looking at the comp. You know, Nautilus, yeah, it's good engage. Maokai, yeah, it's good engage. But Aurora just guarantees all of that to work. And when your guarantee is gone, there's almost no way to actually play this fight. As we said at the beginning, right? If the one shot doesn't come down from the side of DMG, I think it's very hard to play this fight. Playing into Orianna and Shyvana and Gnar, there's so much disengage on that team that even if you try, I don't think it's gonna work.
Yeah, it's gonna be very hard, and you know, we see both teams posturing here, and I think DMG overstepping their welcome a little. The Aurora is there while the Shyvana is topside, but I think they're just losing a lot of time here. The Shyvana's continuing to clear camps. We just saw her finish up the grubs, and across the board we have items coming in now. It looks like the Gnar in the top lane is going to be opting for the Trinity Force, which I believe is fairly standard. He is actually very accelerated in this game, beyond what we can see.
Speaking of the top lane here, we see the Vayne trying to go in with the ultimate, but just getting immediately ulted into the wall by the Gnar, and then that's just WQ from the Gnar, and she's dead.
And as a wise man once said, Kara, don't forget about Armut.
Don't forget Armut.
And we did see as well, the Gnar is now TPing down for a bot
lane. I'm gonna have to stop you there again. The Gnar doesn't really matter here in this bot fight. As I say that, he TPs in, never mind. The Gnar actually matters a lot, but he doesn't have the rage up here. But that's so much damage coming out. The MF ult coming down, not enough damage. Just too slow on that and not enough items on the MF. We see Gnar with the Mega again. He hits the Q. That's a lot of damage coming in, but the Mega Gnar, the ultimate, is not ready. But that's 4 people here in the bot lane. Damage coming down to the Nautilus. Nautilus taken down immediately by Happy Alex on the Shyvana. More damage coming out here onto the Aurora. The Aurora does have ultimate. She's gonna go here onto the Gnar, and that's a big shutdown going over, but it doesn't look good for the rest of her team. The Maokai goes in to disengage, flashes out, the Ori to follow with the flash, taking him down, and this is just Aurora stuck here in the bot lane, almost taking down that Rel, and that's just gonna be the 4th kill going over to Happy Alex, as we see the Vayne actually coming down to spectate the fight, just like us.
Yeah, DMG fighting for their lives in that fight, and it's not enough. They do fall over in that fight. Predicted to you coming in very strong. Slim Samson in the top lane. He took all 5 plates on the top lane tower. Then he uses his TP to join the fight at the perfect time. He's so accelerated in this game. And we just saw the beauty of the Shyvana pick in that fight as well. She's able to go dragon form, and she's able to play on the edge of the fight, and she just keeps eating you. And there's so much pressure for the enemy team. They have to make a move. They have to do something, because otherwise they're just gonna get poked out. In this Shyvana, I believe when she gets her recall very soon, I think we might see just a straight up Liandry's buy. She's gonna be sitting on so much gold.
Yeah, and again, I completely agree there, but first she's gonna just cycle these camps, make sure that none of them are ever up, as I mentioned multiple times this game. She is at 136 farm already, and I think, yeah, the full Liandry's might be coming in here on this base.
Yeah, we don't see too often where the junglers and competitive are staying, you know, even in farm with their solo laners, but that is what we're seeing in this game. And we do see here in the bot lane, they're looking for a pick on this Gnar.
Yeah, and a fight coming out here. The Gnar ulting this Vayne immediately, but getting caught by the Maokai ult, and that's going to be too much damage for him to take. The Vayne getting a kill here in the end, but still pretty far behind. But again, right, this is what you want to do. This is what we want to see from the side of DMG, showing some life, trying to get their side laner back into this game. But on the other side of the map, you know, that's a different story.
You know, they do make a play on the bot side of the map here, but Shyvana continues her great tempo in this game, and she secures the Rift Herald. we do have the third Drake of the game spawning very soon, and she's gonna have the Rift Herald, and I think we might see a play, you know, they can drop the Herald in the mid lane, take the mid lane tower, and then do a little rotation into the Drake and take that, and I think it's gonna be very hard for DMG here to get back into this game. They are 6k behind before 20 minutes even, big objective bounties coming down, and I will be very surprised, Card, if they try to contest this Drake at all.
Yeah, and speaking of the Drakes again, right, I'm gonna have to stop talking here as we see some sort of engage coming out here. The Hex Flash not really going through, and just speaking on this fight now, everyone is here and everyone is ready to fight, but I feel like this fight just isn't really good for DMG.
Yeah, it's very hard, you know. The Shyvana, she's sitting on that ultimate and she has the Liandry's now. When she pops that, she's gonna poke you out so hard, and you have to walk into this team, you know. I did highlight before that the DMG red side team, they want to be first at the objective, but they're just too far behind to set up first, and now they're the ones who have to walk in, and it's so very hard. You've got the Gnar on the flank.
We see an engage coming here on the Gnar, but the Gnar might just get one shot here by the side of DMG. A lot of damage coming back out onto the Nautilus. He's almost 1 HP. Aurora ult coming down, and that's a big play from the MF here, but there's just not enough damage. The Nautilus goes down immediately, but the Vayne is just in the backline doing absolutely no damage here to the Orianna. Ult comes down, but through that Seraphs, it just doesn't do anything, and that was a perfect play from DMG, dropping that Aurora ult, dropping that MF ult, but it's just not enough damage. It's just wallet diff.
It is wallet diff, stats diff. DMG playing that fight very smartly, you know, they drop the Aurora out to lock people down, they have the M out come down across it, and it's still not enough. They only managed to secure 2 kills. B2U, the Shyvana Alex, he finished the Drake in that fight, and then he kind of just ran them down. He's hitting them with those E's, with the Liandry's. He's got the Shojin stacked, and he does so much damage.
And that's exactly what I wanted to speak to just before that fight, right? The Shyvana with 3 Drakes. That's, if I'm correct, 20 bonus MR and armor. And with the amount of HP that she has built, I think it's 700, 400 Shojin, 300 Liandry's. That's a lot of stats. This Shyvana isn't only a poke mage, nor is she only a bruiser. She is also a tank now. So that's, you know, she is a frontline demon right now, doing so much for his team here. Alex completely smurfing it, honestly, and I think it's just so hard for DMG to do anything in this game, but I love that they're trying. I love that they're giving it their all. They're playing their comp the way it's supposed to be played, but for now, it hasn't been paying off quite yet.
Yeah, and the DMG might look to collapse here, and I think perhaps they could. The Shyvana may be slightly out of position. She is behind enemy lines looking for the invade, but it seems like DMG, they're just gonna back off. They're gonna respect that Shyvana. There is a huge shutdown on her of 600 gold. Killing her would secure them 900 gold, sorry. That would be a big swing of gold. They are posturing in the mid lane, you know, they're trying to get these towers, but it's so difficult into the wave clear.
So much damage coming out from here from the Shyvana, just completely annihilating the Nautilus, but a big MF and Aurora ult coming down, taking so much damage here, but the Rel doesn't die, and she gets her entire combo off, the Ori ult whiffing, but there's just no damage on the side of DMG. I feel like they're playing these fights so well, but it's just, there's not enough damage. We talked about this last fight. The stats are just lacking, but you can see the combo is working, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, and maybe if they can keep this game going on long enough, eventually the combo will work and secure them a number of kills, but it is slightly sad to see. We see the perfect combo drop down, the Aurora ult and the MF ult once again in that fight. And it's just not nearly enough, you know. The Shyvana and the Gnar, they barely drop below half HP, and you know, it is sad to see. It's perfect execution of the comp, but they've let themselves fall behind so far that it's so difficult now, Cart. And 3 or 4 minutes now on the Drake timer, an early soul gonna be coming in, and I think if DMG let the soul go towards B2U, not that they have much choice, it's gonna be very difficult.
Yeah, and just, you know, if we recall the last Drake fight where the Gnar basically got one shot, that's never gonna happen again, right? We see the Gnar smartly picking up the Sterak's Gauge, which actually saved them in the last fight, right? We saw that really good combo coming out, but that Sterak's Gauge just completely removing it, right? It doesn't let DMG play the game that they want. It doesn't let them one-shot the front line. It's a 700 HP shield. Nothing is gonna kill this Gnar, right? Even the perfect combo is not gonna take him down. And I just have to say, you know, really good itemization coming in from the side of the Gnar, as we see an engage on the MF in the mid lane, stepping up a bit too far here and having to flash out.
Yeah, slightly overstepping now, and now the Shyvana.
Big engage coming out. I blinked and I missed it, and we see the Maokai going down immediately, followed by the Nautilus. Jinx ult coming down and taking down the Vayne, but a big combo from the side of Aurora and MF, but it's just not enough. Everyone is gonna go down from the side of DMG. 2 people, 3 people on blinking health bars from the side of B2U, but again, it's not enough, and they're gonna take the 5-0 and gonna go towards the Baron.
Yeah, that's a pure wipe in favor of Addicted to You. It doesn't matter. They played that fight fairly sloppily, but it just doesn't matter at this point. We're seeing an 11,000, almost 10,000 gold lead here at 22 minutes. They're back on the map already, strong. The dragon spawning in less than a minute, and they're already set up for it. I think once this dragon goes over to the side of Addicted to You, it's gonna be almost impossible for DMG to recover. We've seen now 3 fights in a row. They've executed the combo that their comp does perfectly, and it's just not enough. And now this Chemtech Drake falling for Addicted to You. DMG, they're not on the map fast enough to make a response anywhere. And I believe that's a, is it a 10% damage reduction and 10% damage buff when below 50%?
Yeah, I think the souls did get buffed a bit while the individual drakes got nerfed, but that's such a horrible drake to, I mean, a horrible drake soul to give over, right? This Shyvana is already Thanos mode, right? It's already extremely accelerated with 4 drakes. That's how many resists? Too many resists, and then on top of that, just getting the damage reduction when below 50%. This Shyvana is the raid boss this game. We see the big gold difference here highlighted by our producer. That's, what, 6k gold difference? No, I can't count. 4k gold difference. Still a lot of gold difference, you know.
It is a lot of gold difference. And I think at this point, this Shyvana, she's probably above the 700 gold shutdown, you know. If DMG can ever claim that shutdown, there's probably another one right behind it, and I think it's gonna be very tough for them to pick her off at this point. She plays with her team very well, and in all of these fights she plays on the edge of the fight, and we do see a bit of a cocky purchase by Alex here in the jungle. He's opted for the Horizon focus.
Yeah, and speaking of the Horizon focus, we saw it proc here onto the Maokai, somehow procking with below 600 range, but I'm not gonna get into how Riot codes their game. But we see the Maokai has to flash out, and then the Nautilus is the next target trying to clear a ward, but that is not allowed in this game. The entire map belongs to Addicted to You. No one can walk into the jungle, no one gets any wards down or up in the jungle if it's not on the side of Addicted to You. And DMG is gonna have to fight for vision prio, but the damage coming out here from the Shyvana. The Nautilus is trying to get out, but he might get picked here, having to flash at the end, and it just shows, right? When these good teams, when these high-elo teams get ahead, there's just nothing you can do. You can't walk into your own jungle, let alone clear a wave without being immediately harassed.
Yeah, and that's not even the dragon form Shyvana. That's the human form Shyvana. And we see Misfortune slightly behind enemy lines here. I think if she runs towards bot, she can get out alive, but
those clips missing a bit here.
Maybe just trying to buy some time here. She is wasting a lot of Nair's time. But I don't think Addicted to You particularly care. Orianna's currently pushing in the top lane and nobody's responding.
Yeah, nobody responding on that top lane push. The tier 2 going down for Addicted to You here in the top side. A lot of gold again over to that Orianna. She's most likely pretty close to that death cap stage, and they're just gonna start the Baron, and I really don't think the side of DMG can do anything about this. They know what's going on, but there's just nothing you can do here. TP coming in from the Aurora, being really close, but it's gonna get cancelled by the Gnar, spotting her out here in her own jungle, and she's just gonna get completely obliterated. Orianna and Gnar both on the flank, and at the same time, the Jinx, Shyvana, Rel trio took down the Baron. Again, P-Shooter Vayne doing absolutely 0 damage and getting immediately one-shot. Flash ulti coming in here from the Orianna, getting that ult down onto the Nautilus, taking him down. MF goes down. Maokai died in the jungle in Narnia. Nothing makes sense anymore, but Bardicta TU is just so incredibly far ahead. A 15k gold lead just means that they can do absolutely whatever they want. Absolute stomp here from B2U, taking down their base, and it's just gonna be the end here.
Yeah, props to DMG for trying in that fight, trying to claw their way back into the game, but it's just not enough. The strength of this Shyvana, absurd, but also the Orianna. We saw both players playing this game very well, and the game is gonna fall. The Nexus is dead. That is 1-0 for Bardicta to you. Such a strong start. And Alex in the jungle showing us why he was like an ex-professional player. You know, we did see some comments in chat that he's here playing in the SOL essentially for fun.
Yeah, a bit of for fun gaming here for Alex, but it seems like he's having a lot of fun, honestly. Here, the Shyvana performance, 100 CS over your jungle opponent, 8 kills, 0 deaths, 10 assists. That's what I would call a pretty fun game.
He is indeed having fun. DMG, on the other hand, not having as much fun, and it's gonna be interesting to see how they can adapt going into the next game. I think you have to shake this game from your mind completely. Forget about it. Get ready for the next game, and maybe reconsider some of the picks and bans. I think that Shyvana, I think I would be very surprised to let that go through again. Even if they have something prepared to play against it, I think the mental aspect of it has a lot of value. She just went 8-0 and 10 in this game, and even though they tried to lock her down over and over, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, and it just wasn't enough indeed at the end of that game. We're gonna go over to a very short break, and after that, we're gonna come back with the Lodestar Esports analyst desk, going through this short game just a bit before the next game starts. So we're gonna see you then.
I can see the shadows look like you. I gotta forget, find something new. There's no going back for you and I. You and I. Don't know what you want, I need to know. Don't pick up the phone when I try to call. Tell me what is wrong or what is right. What is right. 'Cause now it's too late, nah, nah, nah. Too late, nah, nah, nah. Too late, nah, nah, nah. Too late, nah, nah. Now it's too late, nah, nah, nah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Lodestar Esports Analyst Desk. We're gonna go over this game quickly before the next game starts, and we have, a couple of timestamps. We have a couple of stats to show you guys, so we're gonna go right in it. I'm joined here by Wegan. Hello.
Hello, everyone. What a game we had, eh?
Crazy, insane game. Just, it's a stomp. Honestly, there's not much more to say than this was a big stomp.
I'm just saying, I would be scared if I played versus Alex in jungle.
Yeah, for sure. And we're gonna go look over some timestamps, right? Are you gonna explain those to us, Wegan?
Yeah. So, I mean, the game was being played like very, very snowbally, but I feel like the crucial part was when DMG pulled their entire bot side to to contest the grabs, but it counterplayed on the map as we will see. So here we have actually Nautilus coming up early with Rel following up, and MF pushed the wave and goes mid. But actually, like when you put 5 people here and MF is late anyways, they can just win the fight like on top side because MF can't really be there. And if we look bot side right now, as Jinx is just simply catching so many waves, and MF is just doing kinda nothing here. She loses like a lot of XP and gold. So they lose on both sides of the map, and then with Shyvana being able to contest Drakes, like there's no way for DMG to kinda get back into the game.
Yeah, for sure. And we have to point out in this play that just really, really, really good catch from Slim Samson here in the top side. Catching out Same on that rotation. Just making, the Nautilus roam. I said in game, right? I said, wow, what a good Nautilus roam. And then Same gets picked, and all of a sudden, it went from really good Nautilus roam to absolutely horrible Nautilus roam where he gets picked in the top side.
Yeah, so unfortunate. But I saw what they thought of, and yeah, sadly they couldn't really execute it.
Okay, and
so like
that's the beginning play, right? That's the play that started off this snowball.
Yeah, exactly. And then like Shyvana just takes over. She gets the Jack of Trades broke, and she's just like too strong, man. Also, the stats from getting like all the Drakes is kind of crazy. Now, like, what would DMG do to get back into game 2?
I mean, they would have to. I think what they did, they played well, right? They played their team comp. They, at least in the team fights, they did what they needed to do. But before the team fights is where the problem arose. I think the draft might be a bit too spicy. The Vayne top getting completely counterpicked and just wiped under the rug
by
completely.
B1.
Yeah, I don't know if it was B1 because the draft was a bit out of order. So yeah, we're gonna have to see, what actually happened there. But the Vayne being completely swept under the rug, I think you have to, look at draft a bit, and then first of all, just look at how you played early on in this game. I think they're gonna have to think about what they're doing.
All I'm saying is put Boundless on Ezreal and let him shine. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. Now we have the second timer of the game, which is around 16 minutes. You care to explain this one to us again?
Yeah. So DMG posting heavy on the bot side here. They catch the Gnar, which is very good. Like you have to look for this. But then like we look at the other side of the map where there are 2 people in mid and Shyvana is just taking wrist for free. Like this is just accelerating the game into Vardicted's favor, since they're like already have a big lead, so they can just now push towers, and then the game is very hard for DMG to play after this.
Yeah, for sure. I think, they, again, right, this is exactly what they were doing. They were looking for good plays, but it wasn't enough in the end. It was just, they were too far behind. So if we just finish this game, I think there's not much to look for here anymore. If we look at the post-game stats now, right? We check out a bit of the gold graph, a bit of damage graphs to see, what the stats were at the end of this game.
I think this gold graph will be like, you know, Bitcoin. It just goes higher and higher. So they did play the combo very well, but I think just gold diff, item diff, just destroyed them.
Yeah, for sure. And now, if we just think about next game, right? What do they have to do? Do you think there's gonna be any adaptations in the draft already?
I would like for DMG to play a more aggressive jungler that can contest Alex, because like Alex is for sure their star player, and if you can shut down Alex, maybe the team follows.
Yeah, for sure. I think Alex is definitely gonna have to be, you know, the target for it. So
Yeah.
they're gonna have to just look to shut him down. And speaking of shutting down, we're gonna go over to a very, very short break, and after that, we're gonna come back with the draft.
See ya.
Okay, welcome back everyone. We apologize for some of the production inconveniences we've been having, but we've been sorting it out. Everything is working as it should now, and we hope it keeps working like that. I am back here again, joined with Emily, going into game 2.
Yeah, hello again. First game, very exciting. Hopefully we can get something as exciting for game 2. I do expect that the Shyvana is going to be off the table.
Yeah, the Shyvana, I think, is just gonna have to be the target here. Or that, or you have to adapt your draft to better deal with the Shyvana. I feel like they didn't really have many tools to stop her from snowballing in that game.
That is indeed true, but I think there's also a bit of a mental aspect to it, you know? Sometimes it can be hard to play against the champion that you've just been stomped by.
Yeah, 100%. It's gonna have to be. I think they're gonna have to get some sort of change in the draft, at least, right? You can't just go salty run back based on how the game went.
Yeah, indeed. It's gonna be interesting to see what the picks and bans are going to be for this game. I am expecting not to see anything too spicy, you know. I expect that Bardicted to You, they want to round out cleanly for a 2-0, and I expect that DMG, they probably just want to resort to a standard game, you know. The spicy pick with the vein top, it didn't work out for them, so I expect them to go back to something more normal.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, something a bit more normal. I mean, depends on what we count as normal in this game. You know, the draft is even when we looked at the draft preview, right? We looked at the players. There's not much normal in there, except for maybe like the ADCs and supports. The rest is a bit, you know, interesting picks for the most part. So we're gonna have to see exactly what they decide to pick up here.
Yeah, indeed. We should be getting into the draft any moment now. I believe we are just waiting for the final ready checks from the teams.
Yeah, we're getting confirmation right now. We're just waiting here. We're in contact with the players, waiting for them to get ready in the lobby so we can start the draft. For now, we're still waiting for the support from the side of I believe it's DMG.
I believe so, yes. Any minute now they should be ready up for game 2. Game 1 was a bit of a quick game, you know. Bardicted to You, very strong showing. They shut out the game quite quickly. We do have Bardicted to You. They are ready for the next game. Just waiting, as you said, for the support from DMG.
Yeah, not really much to say right here, right now. We could go over to the comparison screen to look at the champs a bit more in depth, just like we did before the first game. We're gonna swap over to that. Actually, we're gonna have to go back. It's just as I said that, everyone joins and everyone is ready in the lobby. That is very unfortunate. So we're gonna go right back here and get into game as soon as we can. So the draft is gonna start in a moment.
Yeah, we should be getting into that any moment now. Both teams are ready. Both ready to draft. And here we go into
Here
champ
we are.
select for game 2. We have Bardicted to You versus DMG. Bardicted to You on the red side this time, and they are up 1-0.
Yeah, and we see DMG first ban the Shen. I believe that's the same as the first game, but I'm not 100% sure, as we see the Leona being banned out here by B2U, followed by the Sejuani here and the Zeri on the side of DMG, and the last ban is going to be the Ivern.
Yeah, I do believe that the bans are fairly similar to the first game, but a little bit different. And we do have DMG. They believe in the power of the Maokai, and they are locking it in first pick.
Yeah, and it seems like a bit of a salty run back as it is right now, except for that Ashe pick and the Braum pick instead of the Nautilus. Mostly the same draft, but the bot lane for the side of DMG is being swapped here.
You know, I like this bot lane a bit better, to be honest. I think the Nautilus pick is a little bit out of favor, but we see the response by Bardicted to You. They've locked in the Jarvan. He's able to effectively lock down that Ashe, and they'll probably have some more combo coming over the top, you know, the Rel combo inside the Cataclysm with the Jinx AoE. It's quite threatening.
Yeah, and here followed up by the Azir on 4 for Addicted to You and answered by the Akali on the side of DMG. we were expecting some more, oomph to come out here out of the side of Bardicted to You, but for now it's just the Azir. But still, Jarvan Azir, locking people up in that cage, and then the Azir just completely destroying them with those soldiers. And we see Renekton picked up for DMG, and then then the Dr. Mundo actually on R5 here for Bardicted to You.
Yeah, the draft coming in quick. Azir was a champion that we highlighted the strength of on the current patch before the first game. Renekton is a fairly standard pickup. I think Akali is maybe a little bit off the beating track at the moment, but it is still a very competitive pick. But I think something interesting here, Cart, is the Dr. Mundo pick. That is a champion we don't see all too often in competitive.
Yeah, and we don't see him because I feel like he lacks some sort of utility for his team, right? Usually, when you're picking a frontliner, a tank, it's you want it to CC people, and Dr. Mundo does not offer that. But what he does offer is almost completely unmatched tanky stats, right? Dr. Mundo, if you can't one-shot him, he is not going to die.
Yeah, that is true. But the Dr. Mundo also, he's able to get up a lot of attack damage and stats. He turns AD health into AD, sorry, and he usually builds like Warmogs and Heartsteel a lot of the time.
Yeah, and those items being extremely strong right now, we see them built in solo queue mostly on champs like Ornn even, right? So you know that health stacking is pretty strong in this state of the game. So we're gonna have to see what happens here in the top side. I don't know about the Dr. Mundo Renekton matchup. I haven't seen it played too much, but it seems to me, if I think about it, a bit Dr. Mundo favored. But we're gonna have to see that. But the big difference I see this game is just the jungle matchup, right? It's no longer Maokai into Shyvana. It's not that scaling farming pick against the Maokai, which is a bit more early oriented, but it's early champ versus early champ. These both champs want to skip camps and they want to gank.
Yeah, it's definitely. And we did see Alex on the Shyvana. He was able to make a lot of plays early on a champion and is traditionally known not for playing the game early. So I am excited to see what he does on this Jarvan. He's probably going to be able to make some like disastrous plays for DMG.
Yeah, 100% here. We're going to see a very different B2U than we did in the first game. It's going to be extremely different. The Shyvana, not doing anything basically for the first early part of the game, playing a bit more reactive than anything else. But the Jarvan now, as you mentioned, is going to be a big problem here. It's going to be very interesting. And I can't wait to see what these teams are cooking up because I feel like the jungles are going to go for wacky paths. I think that's going to be the name of the game for this game.
Yeah, I think it's a definite possibility, and I do expect both junglers to be pathing towards the bot side here. It would be very strange, especially for Bardicted to you, to path into the top side. We've got that Dr. Mundo versus Renekton matchup, which I think, as you did highlight, and I agree that it might be Dr. Mundo favored just slightly, but I think it is a fairly even matchup overall.
Yeah, and 100%. I don't think the junglers want to affect that matchup too much because I don't think with kills it changes too much either, except for the Renekton maybe being able to take over. But the focus is going to be here on the bot side and mid. You see, the Maokai has such strong lanes to play around. You see the Braum and the Ashe. Bot lane extremely strong early on into the game. The Akali versus the Azir. Akali has so much kill threat here, especially if some CC comes down for her to hit those crucial spells. It's going to be very strong. So I think, Maokai is going to be looking for that bot side and mid side to be playing.
Yeah, I think both junglers going into this game with very similar game plans, and we're gonna have to see, can Bardicted to you make a repeat of the first game, or can DMG claw their way back and turn this into a 1-1? Bardicted to you, they're not undefeatable, they're not invulnerable. They dropped a game last week to Ragam, so maybe DMG can look to repeat it.
Yeah, 100%. I love that you mentioned that, right? After first game, you would kind of expect that, maybe you can't win versus B2U, right? If you're DMG, you're a bit scared. You got stomped so hard in the first game that, maybe some doubts come into your mind. Like, maybe they're not beatable at all, right? Maybe Alex is just too strong. Maybe their bot lane is just too strong. As we see some invades coming out here. The Maokai getting caught out a bit, but that just might be him going down, flashing out, and getting back to my point, right? I like that you mentioned that they've dropped the game already, so there's just no reason that they couldn't drop another.
Yeah, definitely, and that's something that you really have to get in your mindset, especially after a game like the first game that was so disastrous for DMG. You have to clear your head and think about this game. It's a fresh game, you know, it's a new slate. This team, they can drop games. They're not unbeatable. They looked very strong in the first game, but you just have to play better. You have to claw your way back. And we do see the Maokai. He is on the bot side, so that he might be pathing into that top side.
Yeah, see a lot of damage here. Very good spot onto the Azir early on in this game. Expecting him to go for the ward again, just like in first game. An extremely good play from the side of DMG. Expecting the Azir to go for that ward and punishing him promptly. And then going for this invade. Azir has the TP mid. And B2U have spotted out this play from the side of DMG. But there's absolutely nothing they can do.
Yeah, but DMG going for that late invade, they're able to catch up the Azir, and it looks like they are trying to split the map, but the Jarvan, he doesn't consent to the split map. He is going to contest it, and predicted to use bot side are going to have the first move, and we're probably going to see a fight here.
Yeah, Hex Flash coming out from this Maokai, barely getting out of the EQ combo from the Jarvan, but that was a smart play, just Hex Flashing out. But as you said, right, this Jarvan is going to fight for his bot side, and the split map is not going to go through, and I think that's a really, really good play here from the Jarvan, knowing that the split map is not advantageous for his team at all, and at the same time, right, it might have been a mistake, because now he's trying to get this Gromp, but the bot side here from DMG are just too strong, and they can just walk in and fight for this objective. The cleanse coming out from the Jinx, but jumping on to the Maokai here, no flash on that champion, is gonna go down in the end. Flash here from Happy Alex, he's gonna not go down there, but you know who's gonna go down? The Braum, not being able to get out of that play, getting taken down by the Jinx. Very good answer from the side of B2U.
Yeah, very well played by B2U. That whole fight, the Rel was only level 1, so she's able to play that out. And we just see great target selection by B2U. They know that the Maokai has no flash. They're able to get the reset onto their Jinx so they can play out the rest of the fight. The cross map has been denied. Maokai is beat back to his own jungle, and now he is very far behind on pace.
Yeah, we see 7 CS to the 10 on Jarvan. It's behind in pace, but at the same time, right? It's not a farming jungler. I think he doesn't care. In some way, he does not mind being a bit behind. Definitely not a good play for them, not a good game state, but it's not as devastating as if he were a Kindred or something like a Bel'Veth, where you're extremely behind in CS. But this Maokai is just probably gonna clear a couple of camps, leave the rest up, and just keep playing the game as they did. I like the proactivity from both of the teams this game.
Yeah, definitely. We have to respect DMG for going for the play. They do get a kill out of it at level 1, but you know, we did see as well that we didn't see Dr. Mundo die.
Speaking of killing champions here in the top lane, Renekton is really trying to kill that Mundo, but he's gonna go down to the gang from Happy Alex in the end. 2 kills over to the side of Happy Alex in this game already, and we see the mid lane frozen against this Azir. This Azir has no flash against this Akali. His laning phase was completely destroyed early on in this game, and there's just absolutely nothing he can do about it. His team is gonna walk here to try to get him out of this play, as we see the Akali contesting the Jarvan here on the gank. There's absolutely nothing they can do. The Azir is so incredibly weak that even if Jarvan comes, they can't unfreeze this wave because DMG is ready to respond. What a good play from both of the teams again.
Yeah, it's a beautiful play in the mid lane there. Akali racking up a huge lead already with the freeze, and even Jarvan can't break it. And we're gonna have to see how they adapt here, because last game they had a fairly strong mid lane with the Orianna. You know, she was doing well in lane against the Aurora, pushing her out of lane. But now the tables have turned, and this Akali is on the back foot. And a strong Akali in this game could be quite disastrous, you know. She has good target access onto the Jinx, but I think the problem here is that she struggles with the other targets, you know. It's gonna be hard for her to kill the tanks, you know, the Dr. Mundo. There's a lot of CC in this game as well.
Yeah, and adding to that, right, there's not really a proper DPS champ here on the side of DMG, right? The Ashe, yes, it does a lot of damage. Yes, it's a DPS champ, but it's not a Jinx, it's not a Varus, it's not something that can consistently take down tanks, which is, I think, part of the reason that B2U decided for the Mundo here. We see some plays coming out in the bot side. Again, the Braum and the Ashe fighting the Jinx and the Rel. At the same time, there's a fight coming out here in the jungle. it's Alex, Happy Alex here in the jungle, getting taken down. Almost both flashes from the bot lane of B2U having to be taken out of the game, as we see the Ashe taking down the Jarvan here in the jungle at the end, and really blinking health bars here on the side of B2U under that tower. I believe this is gonna be a dive, and they realize that, so they're gonna have to give, I think that's 2 waves, and that's gonna be some plates going over to the side of DMG as well. Very well played.
Indeed, well played by them. Clawing their way back into the series already with a strong display already in this game. Good play on the bot lane here, and now it's B2U that find themselves on the backside. You know, they're on the downside. They have to play from behind now.
Yeah, and I think we're just gonna ignore that Azir ult that we saw in the mid lane. We're gonna act like it didn't happen. We didn't see it. It wasn't on cam, so you know it's all good. There's no problem with that. But 100%, you know, being on the back foot here in this game.
Yeah, and I think the game state is still okay for both teams. You know, it's a small lead, but I think worth highlighting here.
Yeah, again, I'm gonna have to cut you off here. I can't even cut you off because the Jinx is dead before I even can. So, and I think this is just gonna be a dive here from on the bot lane of a B2U. Engage coming in from the Maokai. A bit of unfortunate target prio. I feel like they could have outplayed that if the Maokai was a bit more patient with his W, but it doesn't matter. The Rel gets the kill. Who cares? The tower is gonna lose 1 more plate, and at the same time, I want to point out Azir CS against the Akali.
Yeah, he's quite severely down in this game, and Akali's going to be able to pick up this whole wave in the mid lane. That's at least another 7 CS for her. Gonna be about a 25 CS lead currently in the mid lane. The game currently not looking good for B2U's mid laner Coin here. He's suffering on this Azir compared to his performance in the first game. You know, the Orianna wasn't the highest damage or standout, but it was very solid, and this game looking very different.
Yeah, I love that just we see the amount of proactivity coming out from DMG this game. It's wonderful to see. They're trying to win this game extremely hard. They're trying on every single front. They're doing everything they possibly can to get ahead in this game, and it's working very, very well. The jungler is a bit behind, right? But they don't care. This Akali is extremely ahead here, CS lead-wise and kill-wise. We can see our producer just showed 1.1k gold lead at 8 minutes just for the mid laner, and that's not even counting the ADC and top lane lead as well.
Yeah, it's quite severe at the moment, and we're gonna have to see how B2U can react to this. We saw such a strong display by Alex in the last game, and he has started well on this Jarvan, but at the same time, it's a Jarvan. He's not exactly getting stronger.
Yeah, the Jarvan is, you know, yeah, I love that you mentioned that. He's as strong as he is, and it doesn't look like he's gonna snowball much more than he is already. His team is kind of falling over around him. He can't really do much about it as well. They're trying to answer these plays, and to be fair to them, they're answering them very, very well. A lot of good plays coming out here from both of the teams, but it's just working out from DMG here. They're always the first to move for the plays. They're always the one planning the plays, and I feel like B2U this game are just playing reactive, and it's not really working. We see a nice Ashe arrow, and then a beautiful flash from the Azir, but again, a beautiful flash is still a flash used.
Yeah, and while that play is going on, we saw a cross-map handshake. Maokai, he moved down to the bot side, and he finished that Drake, the Infernal Drake. They are now posturing for a dive, maybe onto the enemy bot lane. The Alex, Jarvan, he is doing the grubs. He's finished the grubs now, and I think DMG have to be careful here, because Jarvan is pathing towards the side that they're playing towards, and if he arrives while they're in the middle of the play, that could be a big counter gank, but we are just gonna see Maokai resetting. He's not resetting anymore, actually. They might still look for this play, and I think they have to be careful.
Yeah, Maokai here on vision. He's being spotted out, and Alex is moving here into the bot side, and I think DMG know this. They just take the plate. They're happy with that gold influx without the kills, and this Ashe might be waiting for an item on next base, as we see the mid lane Akali finishing that Liandry's in the mid lane already, as we see some trading happening in the top lane as well, but ults being used in the top lane. This is gonna be a bit of a brawl. I feel like this fight might take a bit too long to even talk about. Abilities used from both champions here, and that nothing happened. Okay, nothing
Yeah,
happened.
both top laners, they're just handshaking their ult cooldowns. Both ultimates actually very similar in this game, you know, they're both HP buffs, so that's fine for them. But I think worth noting here as well is that Alex, again, on this Jarvan, he's proactive on the map, but he has a CS lead on this Maokai again.
Yeah, and while you were talking about that, something just happened in the bot lane, and nothing much to come out of it, but a good attempt here from Bardicted to you, Rel, trying to. I believe she flashed in to try to Q the Ashe, and that's again flash is traded. That's really good for Bardicted to you. Getting that flash off the Ashe means the Jarvan ult is gonna be that much more potent in a possible engage.
Yeah, but at the same time, there is a huge lead in the bot lane for DMG. I believe it's Boundless on the ADC here, playing Ashe. He's 2-0-1. He has a big gold lead, almost 1,000 gold and a half.
We see
He's
some
already
fighting in the
finished.
top lane. I'm gonna have to stop you here. We see both flashes being used, and that's just Mundo winning. You see the items being built. Good buys from both of the champions here. If you want to comment on that a bit.
Yeah, we see Thornmail Rush, first item completion by Dr. Mundo. And historically, Thornmail has been one of these items that's not a good first item, but I think in its current state, against heavy auto attackers, it is actually a good first item, you know. The Bami Cinder got nerfed previously, so it doesn't do as much damage, and building towards the Sunfire Cape is maybe not so optimal. We don't see it so often on the tanks anymore, so I think here that this Thornmail is actually a great purchase, you know. We know the Renekton, he often goes for items like the Blade of the Ruined King, Ashe also sitting on the Blade of the Ruined King, so there's going to be a lot of value there, and if he's ever fighting the Maokai, there's healing there as well, and it's going to be a lot of damage reflected with that Thorns passive.
Yeah, and speaking of item completions here that you're mentioning, we see DMG having a lot of completed items here on basically every member except for the jungle and support. They're gonna be using that prio to walk in to the jungle of B2U here, setting up a very nice vision line, and probably gonna be using that for the dive, which is coming in soon here. We see some setting up in the bot side. Maokai is ready to go for this dive. Jinx has all sums up though, but she takes a lot of damage here. They're gonna be taking some damage here on the tower. B2U is an engage coming in from the Rel, but it only hits the Braum, the Ashe, with no flash. I talked about how potent this Jarvan ult is gonna be, and the Ashe goes down. The shutdown over to the Jarvan, spiking extremely hard here, but their Akali TP coming in, not doing that much, and that's just a big win for B2U.
Yeah, the Akali TP comes in fairly late on that play. We see that the lead on the Jarvan, he's able to get a lot of damage down on into that Ashe in the Cataclysm, and that was a great engage by Weather on the Rel here.
Yeah, great engage indeed, and it seems like they're gonna have to be playing for that engage again here in the jungle. Alex is getting engaged on in his own jungle in the bot side. He's gonna be taken down by the Akali, who's on a killing spree. 20 CS up at least, waiting to pick up that last wave in the mid lane, and 3 kills. Very good game for Zeronic here on the side of DMG, and it seems like he's gonna be, you know, the one to carry his team on his own back this game.
Yeah, he's picking up his team, you know, he's brushing them off and shaking them down from the first game. He's telling them it doesn't matter that we lost the first game, we just play this game out, we play it strong, we give it our best shot, and so far their best shot is proving to be enough. It is only a 1k gold lead for around 15 minutes. We saw a much bigger lead for Predicted to You in the first game. A 1k gold lead is very far from insurmountable, but this Akali is very far ahead. That's a 2k gold lead she has in the mid lane. She's very accelerated, and I think we don't have to state or tell anyone how devastating a Fed Akali can be.
Yeah, and the issue with the comp from B2U this game is that they don't really have any tools to deal with the Akali, right? I mean, if you want to deal with the Akali with the Rel, which is basically the only champion that can reliably CC her, you're gonna have to not spend that Rel engage on anyone else on the team, and you still have a really good damage that's here. The Ashe, although she isn't a carry in the sense of a Jinx or something, but she still does a lot of damage if left untouched. It's the same goes for Maokai here. He's gonna be going for the Liandry's. That's gonna be a lot of damage coming down in the Renekton as well. So the only real option is a zero ulting or Rel engaging onto the Akali, and I think she's gonna cause too much chaos in the backline of B2U to actually for B2U to do something about it.
Yeah, and I think it is worth noting as well that the DMG comp, they have a lot of crowd control spells. coming down in the team fights. You know, they have the Ashe ultimate to start the fights, and if Predicted to you ever want to engage on a fight, they've got that Bard. You know, we know how hard it is to engage onto the Bard. So much CC, and on top of that, they've also got the Maokai. You know, across the board, it is a lot of CC. There's a lot of threatening spells, and if any of the carries get tagged with any of them, it's going to be very hard to play. Even champions like the Jarvan are going to find themselves bogged down in those team fights.
Yeah, for sure, especially with the build that the Jarvan is going very heavy on the AD here, gonna do a lot of damage, but as you mentioned, if any of that CC hits, that's gonna be a dead Jarvan very, very quickly, so we see the side of DMG taking down the Herald, and they're gonna be resetting now. At the same time, we see B2U taking control in the bot side jungle while they have this timer. It's a bit of trades coming across on either side of the map, but Herald goes over to the side of DMG, and that's definitely a one trade for them. And at the same time, we see here maybe setting up for a dive here. B2U on the bot side looking to help this Azir dive the Renekton, but the Bard sniffs it out. He's walking towards the side of the map, and that's going to be the dive completely cancelled.
Yeah, nothing happening for either team at the moment. Very slow going. The gold lead has swung back to basically neutral at this point, and this Ashe might be overstepping.
Yeah, and we see the engage coming in here. Jarvan all hitting onto the Ashe. She gets the flash out. The flash is up this time, but the Mundo is behind her, and no flash Ashe means the Mundo gets the one-shotter with all of that AD that he's built with the HP scalings, and Azir going in, ulting out everyone from the side of DMG. That's a lot of damage coming out, and Akali hitting the E onto the Jinx, taking her down, but that's a big shutdown coming down onto the Azir from the Akali, but he's gonna go down to the sapling in the bush in the end. That Liandry's from the Maokai paying dividends, getting 300 gold onto the Azir.
Yeah, that was a well-played fight by both teams, and I think the Akali, maybe forgetting that she has the shutdown, you know, in most situations it is fairly worth for Akali to go 1-for-1 in kills, because she does scale up being that assassin, but here, going 1-for-1, she gives up the shutdown, and we actually see the gold lead has swung in favor of Predicted to you here. They've got about 1,000 gold lead here, and when we look down, it's maybe not quite in the places they would want it to be. You know, we've got the Jarvan very far ahead, the Mundo far ahead, but the carries, you know, the Azir and the Jinx are down in gold, and I think that tells a different story than the sheer gold lead of this game, you know. But we have to see how this Akali is going to play it out. We saw it in that fight. She died. She went 1-for-1. And I think when you have all the gold in your pocket, going 1-for-1 is no longer worth it.
Yeah, definitely going 1-for-1 not good enough in that case, but now the Jinx is in the top side, maybe in a bit of danger here. Unfortunately, DMG doesn't know where anyone else on the side of B2U are here, so they're being very, very cautious here, just taking the tower and leaving.
Yeah, they pick up the tower, you know, that's a decent chunk of gold in their pocket. We see a bit of a strange lane assignment here, where we have the Akali versus the Mundo in the mid lane, and we see as well there's the strength of that Akali. He's able to chunk out the Mundo, but he doesn't care because he does have the Warmogs, and across the board we do see second items coming in for most of the champions, at least the ones who aren't very far behind. You know, the Jinx, as we highlighted before, sorry, she is very far behind. She opted for the Infinity Edge first item. She's probably gonna be opting for something like the Phantom Dancer second item. And Jarvan, he just picked up the Sundered Sky second item.
Yeah, for sure. All of these items coming out here. B2U is extremely strong in this game. They have come back slightly. It's not where they want to be in this game yet, but the comeback is real. We can see them getting to that point, but for now, still DMG in the lead here. An item up on the ADC, an item up on the mid lane carry on the Akali. As you mentioned before, right, the gold is on the wrong people, but still, there is gold on your team, so you have the option of fighting, and we're gonna see a big team fight here probably for this Drake. Herald used before by DMG to take down the mid tier 1, and that's a big piece of safety not available, as we see the support from the side of DMG taking a lot of damage here from the Azir. The Jarvan looking for engage. We see the Mundo ulting in, and the Jinx gets caught by the Maokai ult. No one blocked that, and so much damage coming out from the Akali here. Jarvan goes in. Ashe has no flash. That's going to be a lot of damage, but the Akali is completely untouched. Only the tanks left in this fight. But the Jarvan, not a tank, really, building all of that damage. We see the Maokai doing so much work here with the Akali. Q is going to be coming up, but that's not going to be enough damage. And Alex just carrying that fight for his team, jumping on the backline. He doesn't need his backline. Why would he build tank when he can go AD? And that's exactly why he did that. So much damage, so much work here from the jungle and top lane from the side of B2U, winning that fight and taking the Drake.
Yeah, I think that fight was fairly well played by both teams, you know. We've got Zeronic on that Akali playing his heart out, and it's just not enough. He's able to get on the backline, but at this point the backline isn't the issue, you know. That Jarvan and that Dr. Mundo in the front line, those are the damage threats in this game actually. That Dr. Mundo especially, you know, we see him in the team fights, he's throwing up those effective cleavers constantly, and with that E, he's able to get so much AD that he just whacks people, you know, he whacks people with a big cleaver, huge damage coming down. And now we saw the first Drake going towards the side of Verdicted to You. It is a Hextech Drake, so it will be a Hextech Soul. They are in the lead now, roughly a 1.5k gold lead. It's looking not quite fully comfortable for them, but I think they are in control of this game. You know, we saw in that fight that the Akali very strong, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, and while you're speaking about that, we see a big fight here in the bot side. We see the Renekton with that Blade of the Ruin King doing a lot of damage here. Jinxold coming in and missing the Renekton in the end, but that Blade of the Ruin King is gonna get stronger and stronger versus this HP stacking Mundo here in the side lane. But at the same time, Renekton's team, DMG, getting complete control over the Baron side of the map.
Yeah, but those fights at the same time, Carrot. Dr. Mundo sitting on that Warmox, he doesn't care. He will trade all his HP but 10, and he's gonna regen back up to full. As we see, he's able to just clear the wave effectively, get back out onto the map, and now both teams are posturing towards this Baron now. Both teams having good vision on it, but DMG currently in control of the vision. They have the Akali pushing out the top lane, and I think Renekton, he's gonna up back into the bot lane versus the Mundo. And all of the solo laners do have TP up for the next fight, and I think at this point what we have to look for is particularly this Ashe looking for an arrow. How she has the arrow up, and at any point she can try to burn some summoner spells with it.
Yeah, speaking of burning summoner spells, it seems like Alex completely burned down this Renekton's HP bar, which means a lot of lost side lane power here for the side of DMG in the bot side. The Renekton, as opposed to the Mundo, does not have the Warmog, so he can't really just stay in lane and heal back up, so he's gonna give a lot of prio here in the bot side. But at the same time, right, his team, again, they have complete power over Baron here, and their strongest member, the strongest member from B2U here is in the bot side. He does have TP, but if that can get cancelled, although it actually can't because he has passive and Renekton only has one CC spell, so it's a bit of a rough game here. The DMG does have wave and vision control, but the Mundo is so strong that he can come into the fight at any time and just wipe them just like he did before.
Yeah, but I like the way that Verdicted to You are posturing here. They realize that the Mundo is the strongest member, or the close to the strongest member of the team, and they shift the way.
We see an engage coming in here in the mid lane. I love that you mentioned that. Just as you're talking about exactly what they're doing, DMG pulls the trigger, but it's not enough, right? They're just posturing. B2U is just posturing here towards their bot side, towards their Mundo, towards their strongest ally, and they're just chilling. We see a fight here in the bot side. We didn't get to see the beginning of it, but the Mundo proccing the ultimate. We see 1 HP on the Renekton. He's gonna have to be basing here, but the Akali is just not doing enough damage here to take down this Mundo. He just does not care about any damage. You mentioned it before. He's just trading all of his HP just to regen it back with the Warmogs. He has the Spirit Visage as well, so his passive is doing wonders for him. He just stands there and regens 50 HP per second. He doesn't care. He's a side lane demon.
Beautifully played by Verdicted to You there. They shift the play towards the bot side, realizing that DMG have greater setup on the Baron. And I have to question and call into the decision is, was it the right decision for DMG to respond to that play? You know, they have the setup on the Baron, and you'd think any other team in this situation...
Yeah, any other team in this situation would definitely try to just trade their bot lane for the Baron, but I feel like they might be afraid that the Mundo might just run over the Renekton under tower and then just take tier 2, tier 3, and maybe even the inhibitors. So they're being very cautious with how they're playing, but definitely an option to just try to cross map here.
Yeah, now the thing is that the Akali has no TP, so they're able to put the Mundo up there against the Akali, and now the Azir is in the bot lane with TP, and now both teams, they are contesting for the setup on the Baron, but the Drake is going to be spawning soon, so I expect to see the focus shifting towards that. And it's gonna be interesting to see, will any team opt to forego the setup on the Drake, sorry, to go for the Baron, which I think is a respectful play in most situations, especially for predicted to you here. They're only sitting on the one Drake.
We see a bit of damage coming out here on the Mundo from the Ashe, but the Mundo just doesn't care about the Ashe damage. He's not taking enough damage for it to matter. He ults, and one auto just did like 300 damage to the Ashe. The Mundo is too tanky. There's no DPS on the side of DMG. The E from the Akali hits on the Jinx, but it gets knocked away by the Azir ult, taking down the Akali now here. That's just a wipe. 3 people dead on the side of the DMG. There's just not enough damage to kill the Mundo.
Yeah, just the strength of the big beefy bruisers on the side of Addicted to You. They're so impossible to kill for the comp of DMG. You know, DMG don't have a tank killer here. You know, they've got the Ashe, they've got penetration built on the Akali, but these are not champions that are known to shred a tank. As we saw, the Ashe, he was flailing wildly at the Mundo and his HP bar went up.
Yeah, his HP bar kept going up, and one auto from the Mundo just completely removed the Ashe's HP bar. As again, right, they're trying to fight this Mundo, they're doing damage to him, but if they don't kill him before he starts regenning, it's just hopeless. He just walks away. Look at how much he's regenning. The Mundo does not care.
Yeah, I think Mundo is taking over this game already. Happy Alex on the Jarvan, very strong again, you know. Mundo did the work to get Ashe low, but Alex on the Jarvan finished him off. And this game, once again, quickly shifting into a position that looks very bad for DMG. You know, they took advantage in the early game, but the Addicted to You comp is just outscaling them at this point, and it's just so threatening. And even if this game goes longer, I don't think the comp of DMG is getting that much stronger. They're never gonna have the damage to kill this Mundo, and the other champions on Addicted to You now are starting to do a lot of damage. You know, this Azir is scaling up, this Jinx is scaling up, and the threat on the Akali remains, but at the same time, she can't kill the people who matter.
Yeah, 100%, and we talked about how the Jinx isn't the problem in the previous fights, right? But she's becoming a big problem here. A lot of that gold residually just going onto the Jinx. She's picking up a lot of CS. Even though she's not really getting any kills in the fights, the game is just extending, right? And she's getting so many resources. There's so much gold here. Engage trying to engage here onto the side of B2U, the side of DMG is, and there's a separate fight happening in the bot side. The Renekton is losing it though, and the Ashe ult coming out, and there's an Akali in their backline, but the Akali doesn't have enough damage to take anyone down from the side of B2U. She has to use the ult defensively to get out of the play, and that's just gonna be tier 2 going down here. It already went down before, and now the Azir's tier 2 actually fell. But again, right, there's just no damage on the side of DMG.
Yeah, it's really hard for them at this point. I think it is a bit of an issue in the draft. This Mundo, as we highlighted in the champ select, he's nigh unkillable at this point, and I think worth highlighting, Curtis, is, as you did say, he chunked the Ashe earlier, one auto, maybe 500 damage, and he's just purchased the Overlord's Bloodmail, one of the newest items in the league. This item, for anyone who is not familiar, you get bonus attack damage based on your bonus health, which Mundo already does in his own kit, and then also, you get even more bonus attack damage based on your missing health. If this Mundo is knocked down to like half HP, I wouldn't be surprised, Carrot, if he has 500-600 AD.
Yeah, and that's all basically guaranteed if the producer would be kind enough to just hover over that item in the scoreboard so we could see how many stats it's giving. And right now it's giving 70 bonus AD. And that's 110 AD just from the item itself. Besides giving 400 HP crazy. Anyways. And then his AD is increased as well.
That's more AD than any other item in the game.
Oh, big Akali engage here. While we're talking about the AD, we see some AP damage coming down from the Akali. Big engage coming down onto this Ashe. The Rel takes her down. The Jinx hits the ultimate, but there's no reset on that champion. A lot of damage coming down, but there's just no damage coming back. The Mundo is full HP. Happy Alex is full HP. None of these champions care about any of the damage, and As we said in the beginning, DMG just lack DPS.
Yeah, especially into this Mundo. He's got 7,000 HP, 500 AD. He's not a tank. I mean, he is a tank, but he's also an assassin. You know, if he autos you, yeah, good night.
Yeah, can we have the producer also look at the pure AD on that Mundo if we just click on him just to see how much AD he is. 429.
That's without his E active.
That's without E active, and just we're talking about this so much, but it's just so amusing to see big numbers on champions because it's so incredibly fun. And speaking of big numbers, that's gonna be 2 super minions spawning in each lane here, and they're gonna be attacking the side of DMG, and I don't know what you do at this point in the game. I guess this is what you do. Speaking of just what I was saying, Akali in the backline not doing enough damage here to take anyone down. The Mundo just smacking her across the head with the cleaver here. That was a good attempt, but again, it's just not enough. We see Mundo TPing here in the top side. Super minions are soon crashing into the base, so someone is gonna have to clear them from DMG, but again, there's no wave clear on this comp.
Yeah, it's a very similar story to the first game, where DMG, they're trying to fight, but they're just so far behind now.
Yeah, and speaking of trying to fight, the Mundo is not trying to fight them. He's extremely low here. 530 AD on that Mundo. He wanted to get low to get some bonus HP from his ultimate, and he's still not going down. There's no damage coming out from DMG. The Jinx is finally doing damage here after so long that she didn't do almost anything, and that's going to be B2U taking this game with ease.
Yeah, that's a beautiful game, you know. B2U weathering the storm in the early game and then coming back in the mid to late game. Great performances by the Mundo, by Alex on the Jarvan. And that was just a beautiful game of League of Legends, Carrot. I was happy to be here for it.
Yeah, I was here, chat. I was here for this game. And speaking of I was here, we are not going to be here for about 2 minutes. And after that, we're coming back for an interview with Happy Alex, the GOAT of both of these games. So we will see you very, very soon. Stick around.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to our stream, and Bardicted pulled out the 2-0 win today. Also, we have Alex in here, the jungler for Bardicted to you. And yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, hello. We're gonna be going over the game a bit with you. So if you want to start off, Weg, and take it away, tell us what we're gonna look at this game.
Yeah, so we got into this game. You didn't get the Shyvana pick, which is more scaling, but I like the way you played this. Now, you saw Maokai going into the bot side, and you did your red and then walked into bot side. Is this to cancel the split map that eventually would happen, or what was your idea?
Yeah, I mean, you generally can't do this if you don't win the 1v1. So for Maokai in this case, like he's kind of trolling, but I'm trolling even more. Like he should be dead from this. And then we burned his flash level 1. Otherwise, if he had flash, he would just leave. But then I get all the camps and he only takes 1. And that's good for us. But yeah, I mean, I really trolled this play. I should have assumed he went for wolves, but
It's shit happens, you know. But then you won the fight after, and you can.
yeah, but this all comes from us burning his flash level 1. Like we knew from the start that if we're fighting, we just flash on Maokai and we win from that, and that's what we did. Vetter did it really well, going just like we said, and yeah, then it looks like that. It's very one-sided, even though they have Braum. If you kill one target, then you usually win.
Yeah, I feel like you guys abused flashes a lot this game. Ash didn't get to have her flash up. It was insta Jarvan ulti.
Yeah.
But okay. So then moving on,
moving on to the next place, right? We see 8 minutes is the timer we have, and there is a dive happening at 8 minutes. So if you just explain to us a bit, Alex, like what was your guys' game plan this game? So just thinking about the game in general, what were you thinking? What was your path to victory? If you wanted to explain to us.
I mean, we know we outscaled them. Late game, they have a really tough time killing Mundo, and we have a Seer, right? And they have a Kali. So if we just go out even or even losing a bit early game, we win, and we all knew that. Then, especially I disrespected them a bit, dying twice. That was very stupid. But other than that, we played a pretty clean game. We outscaled them, and then it's unplayable for them.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like you guys played around that pretty well. What was your plan in teamfight specifically? So when you guys get to a state, you mentioned that you guys outscale and that you're really strong in later game teamfights. What was the plan when you get to those teamfights? So what did you talk to your team about how to play the fights?
I mean, so in these two comps that we see here, we have a Seer and Jinx, which do a lot more damage than Ashe and Akali. So front to back, we win. And that means that enemy team have to flank with Akali and Renekton, or find Maokai ulti from the side and catch us off guard. So we go into team fights saying, look for flanks, go together. If they ever go in, we have a Seer ult, we have Rel to disengage, and we play it slow, and we protect our carries, and then we should win. And usually in this comp, if they all go super hard in, then Ashe is alone and I kill her easily, and then we probably win the fight anyways, even if they get to Jinx and Azir. And that's kind of what happened this game.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense overall, right? And speaking to that, right, what do you think was kind of the game-changing play this game? Where do you think the game kind of went to your side? Because I think we all agree that early game they were in a good spot to win this game. Where do you think it went wrong for them, and where do you think it went good for you?
They didn't sync their waves with mid and bot, so when they wanted to dive bot, they had a Kali move on the wrong timers. So when she moved bot, they didn't have a wave. And if they pulled off some more dive spots and got further ahead, they could have maybe played for soul before we outscaled them. But yeah, they mis-executed the bot dives, and therefore we could kind of fast outscale them in this game. Like they're so much stronger early game with Ash Braum that they should almost get everything like we did the first game. Like, I would say the first game was the reverse roles, right? We had a way stronger early game comp, and we took everything, and then the game looks like that. And they gave us grubs, and in exchange, they should have dove our bot lane for that, but they misexecuted it. And I would say when they failed the dives is where I knew that this game will be pretty free.
Oh, right.
Yeah, for sure. And
But then-
now, Wegan, take us away for the last couple plays we're gonna look at, and then we're gonna ask you some final questions, and that's gonna be it.
Yeah, then this 2030 fight, if producer can just skip back a little bit. We come in here, we see the big Maokai ulti engage, but then boom, Jarvan creates a new Summoner's Rift. It's like a new map. Their backline is completely out of it. This ultimate was very big.
Yeah, I mean, there I also trolled. I should have gone on Renekton because he was off. But then, yeah, Vetter gets a really nice engage, and I just follow up. So it's all the credit to him here, honestly. Yeah, I would say he
very
solo
well
carried that
executed.
fight. Yeah.
And then the last fight at 26, I believe, until you ended the game. Your top laner just staring Ash down the lane, and she gets hypnosis, so she steps up and she just dies.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of desperate here, right? They have a
Yeah.
hard time, and they want to fight for soul because that's their only win con, but we're already stronger, kind of. So, yeah. To be honest, it's, from this point on, it's really hard for the enemy team to play. If I were them, I would say do something crazy, like look for flanks with Renekton, Akali. Like they need to catch people off guard and win that way, because in a straight up team fight, they can't win anymore. Because
Yeah, for
usually when you pick Maokai, you play for dragons, and the strong point of Maokai is once the dragon is low, you throw ulti, and you force the enemy team to either they run into the Maokai ulti and try to smite the dragon, or they disengage, but then you lose the dragon. But in this case, like they're just fighting, we could disengage every Maokai ult, and then this champion doesn't do anything because they're not fighting for objectives, which is the crucial point when you're playing that champ.
That's a very interesting take. I've never heard that one, but it makes so much sense. I think I might think about that in our next scrims. Wow, very, very good info here. I never thought about it like that. So thank you for that insight. And just to close out this interview, we have a couple of questions for you, right? So after your pro play tour, so that was what year was when you played for in the Spanish league and for G2 Arctic?
What year was that? I think 2 years ago.
2 years
Maybe
ago. Okay,
three. First, I played
okay, it's
in
been a while.
Mad Lions with Blackhead and Torre, that team, and then I played with G2 Arctic. I think that's 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, so how does it feel to be back here in the Swedish Svenska Online Ligan? What are the feelings? I heard that you were kind of playing for fun here a bit. You're enjoying yourself and looking at the games. I think you enjoyed yourself both of these games. So how does it feel?
Yeah, I mean, I took a break after finishing first. When I was in the pro scene, we played so much. Like you were practicing every day, like that was your whole life, right? I tried to play 13, 14 hours a day for
Damn.
for 3 years, and it becomes very taxing for you. And it was very refreshing here to take a step down and just play a little bit more for fun. We're still tryharding, right? But it doesn't feel as serious.
Yeah, for sure. I bet that permanently looking out, playing 13 hours. I can barely play like a couple hours a day, right? Of solo queue and scrims. It's very taxing. I get that, 13 hours must be extremely hard to actually to pull off every day, especially competing at that high of a level. But props to you for doing that for a while. But yeah, it must feel really good to chill a bit more, to have some more fun. And speaking of fun, what are you looking out for here? What matchup specifically? So two parts of this question. What jungle matchup are you most looking forward to in your entire division, and which teams are you most looking forward to playing? And at the same time, what are your expectations for your own team? So those three questions.
Okay, so the first question, the jungle matchup. I don't think I have any specific one that I like. I've used to be always a jungler that either I counterpick. So I've learned almost all matchups, obviously, that are meta. I usually have one good pick that I really like playing into everything. So for example, this game, Jarvan is really good into Maokai, since you can always do your combo out of his ult and you beat him 1v1. So I would say I really like playing into Vi. That's one of my fun champs to play against. Second, what team we would play against? I would say Int. That team stomped us in a warm-up game, and that felt a bit personal. So I want to get revenge and beat them.
Okay, perfect.
And then third, how do I
yeah.
expect our team? I mean, obviously we want to win. And I think we have decent shot at it. I think there's 1-2 teams that we might struggle against, but if we play like we did today, we have a good shot at beating everyone in this league.
Okay, perfect. Very nice to hear. Very interesting insight. Just the last thing before we finish with this interview, we have the gold graph and just the post game stats up here after that game. Do you have any comments on that? We see the gold graph is pretty steep downhill for the blue team, and the Mondo dealing by far the most damage in the game.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of how it would go. Like they should have a bigger lead, right? If they want to have a chance at this game. And if not, it will look like this. I would say, their best shot is being 3 dragons at like 17 minutes, and then forcing a soul point at 21 when they were actually strong. But since they delayed it for so long and we got 1 dragon, then at 26, 27 minutes, it's very rough for them to play. And there you can see the same on the graph, that it tells the same story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's minus 5k at 27 minutes. So that one Drake that you guys got basically bought you so much time to get so far ahead that the rest of the Drakes are just not playable at all.
Yeah, and then also, like I mentioned in the beginning, their dives, they had to pull them off in order to win, and but they misexecuted it, and our bot lane played well also to deny them. So well played by them.
Okay, perfect. That's gonna be it for us for today. Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you would like to say to the fans? Anything you would like to say to the stream?
Yeah, I mean, thank you guys for watching. It's nice to have people engaged in chats and everything. So thank you, and see you next time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, everyone, that's going to be it from us for today's stream. We really hope you enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun casting these games, really high elo games here, really fun to watch. And when we come back very soon with more games in the following week, we're going to have better production, better stat pages. So please, try to stick around. You're going to see much better and much more very soon. So thank you all, guys.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.